y'all, I'm Mia, your favorite transportation sister, safety coach, and the voice behind 10-4 Radio. We're talking trucking truth, wild road stories, driver drama, the safety tips, and how to keep it cute and compliant. Because listen, I'll pull out my Smith system training and lip gloss at the same time. So if you're a new driver, road warrior, or just trying to figure out if trucking is for you, this podcast is your safe space with a little spice. So make sure you subscribe and share and turn the volume all the way up. Because on 10-4 Radio, we don't sugarcoat nothing, but we will uplift you. All right, let's talk trucking. Let's roll. Hey, look, I had a mishap. My mic wasn't on. I forgot to hit the mute button. But y'all know stuff happens. So welcome to 10-4 Radio, the Yard Talk podcast. I am your host and your favorite trucking auntie, Mia. Today, our topic is CDL Mills, passing the test versus preparing you for the job. So before we get started, this episode is powered by Gorgeous Truckers, which is a nonprofit organization geared towards helping people pretty much find sustainable careers in transportation, whether that's you starting from the beginning and trying to figure out how to actually obtain your CDL, whether you need one-on-one coaching to teach you how to get your CDL. We also offer the mandatory ELDT theory training. So just it's a one-stop shop is all I'm saying. So if you want to learn more about what we offer, make sure you visit us at www.gorgeoustruckhers.com, which I just put it right down there, www.gorgeoustruckhers.com. And just kind of look over that, and everything there is what we offer. All right, so listen, this conversation was something that I really am looking forward to talking about. It's an important topic, and who best to bring on is Stan the man, my guest Stan. So Stan is a CDL instructor with more than 17 years as a CDL holder, about 10 years of instructor experience. He spent the last 7 years as an OTR driver, worked for one of the nation's largest couriers, then becoming the regional lead instructor for the country's largest truck driving school, overseeing multiple locations and launching new ones. Talking about CDL Mills, of course, y'all know this is the right person right here. So, Stan, welcome. Welcome to the yard. So, listen, filters off, opinions on. Welcome to the yard.
That's a scary, that could be very scary to offer it that way. But thank you for having me on your show. I love the name. Welcome to the yard. I can't tell you how many times I have repeated that to individuals over the last 10 years or so. It's, this will be a very interesting conversation. I have to tell you that there's a term out there that I'm sure that I was the model for, and that's old school.
Old school.
I'm sure that I was, when people look at me and talk to me about whatever it is that, that we're talking about, I'm sure that term was created to describe me because it fits me to a T. So I have my opinions. I'm not that guy who is going to be very polarizing with my opinions. I try to keep it right down the middle.
Yep.
but I definitely have opinions, and in my opinion, my opinions are educated
Yeah.
opinions. They're not. I don't just throw out.
It's
Well,
full of
this is
this.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
Whatever. It comes from years of experience. I pay a lot of attention. I do a lot of observing. I am an observer of people.
Yes, I say let's talk in facts and not feelings, right? That's what it's
Absolutely.
all about. So you can have your feelings, but let's state the facts. All right. So for the folks that don't know you yet, and I said yet because they are going to, what's a 30-second stand origin story from CDL to regional lead instructor?
Okay. Well, I started. I spent many years prior to getting into the transportation industry in the restaurant industry, in restaurant operations. I ran restaurants for the better part of 30 years. I got burned out with that. The last position that I worked in the industry was a multi-unit supervisor. I was overseeing 4 locations in Southern California for a company. And then I left that and kind of wandered around for about a year, didn't know exactly what to do, and I finally got into truck driving. It's something that I have always enjoyed, was driving in general. As a child growing up, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and I'm the only boy. Um, so when I was a child, my parents didn't earn enough to take us on plane flights or whatever, so we
Yeah,
drove there.
road
Uh,
trips.
I got very good, and I was very good at map reading. And I'm
Yeah,
still to this day, I am entranced. If you put a map in front of me, I'll be
yep,
entranced for hours. I'll just sit
yeah.
and just put me in the corner and give me a map, and I'm good.
I
So
always say I'm a human GPS. People
yeah,
always be like, "How do I get here?" I'm like,
yeah.
Let me show you."
And in Southern California, I could probably find you at least half a dozen ways to get just about anywhere.
Yeah,
I recently moved to Texas, so I'm learning the surroundings. But a lot of times, what I'll do is if I'm going any place in particular, I will take one route to get there, and I will take a different route coming back home or going, back from returning from wherever I'm going, so that I
yeah,
can see more of the area and
yeah,
know what's going on around me. Being aware of your surroundings is something that I've spent most of my adult life um, having the need to be aware. When you're
yeah,
operating restaurants, I was responsible for everything that went on in those 4 walls, and I had to keep my staff safe and needed to make sure that I was always aware of what was going on.
yeah.
Uh, and
Sure,
then, in the transportation industry, safety is the number one priority. So
definitely.
I've spent my whole adult life being that guy, who's always my wife, um, always, she marvels whenever we're out, because I'm that guy who's
Your
always
head
just
is on
always looking
swivel.
around. Yep, always,
Yeah,
always.
yeah. Do you sit with your back or with facing the door? Do
Oh,
you sit
absolutely.
typically
She
facing the
knows
door?
whenever we
Yeah,
go anywhere, especially in a restaurant, I
yeah,
cannot sit facing a wall. I
yep.
have to sit where
You can
I'm
see.
seeing things.
Totally get it. So, since you did over the road, what's one lesson that you feel the road taught you that since you're an instructor now, but you also have the road experience, what's one lesson you think you feel the road taught you that no classroom could ever?
Patience.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
a good one.
Absolutely. You cannot look on the road. You cannot be in a hurry for anything. Um,
Yeah,
you need to be you need to be focused, right? You need to know. You need to plan your route. You need to plan your trip. Planning is a huge
for
part
sure.
of running OTR.
Yeah.
Knowing how to get somewhere efficiently, having a backup plan, a plan B, a plan C, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
a plan D, for whatever the situations that might arise. But you can't be in a hurry. If you're hauling 40 plus thousand pounds of whatever it is, sailboat fuel or widgets, you
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to move very fast.
Yeah.
So you have to, when you learn trip planning skills, you learn that um, the average miles per hour that you want to use as a timeline for how long it's going to take you to get from point A to point B is going to be 55 miles per hour. I always tell I always taught my students, if the longer your trip, the lower you want that speed to be. There, if I'm running from Southern California to Tampa, Florida, right? I know it's going to be a couple of days. I'm not going to average 55 miles per hour. I'll
Yeah.
probably average 45. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't be in a hurry.
That's a good
Patience
one.
is the
Patience.
biggest thing.
Patience is a good one. I
Absolutely.
like that. I
And
like
you
that.
can't ever underestimate or say enough about safety.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
safety, and if you're sitting in a classroom setting talking to people, they don't get it with regards to patience or safety until they
Mm-hmm.
get to the yard and they see how slowly things move and how you have to have your head on a swivel. You have to
All
be
the
paying
time.
attention to what's going
Yep.
on, where you're going. You cannot walk around looking down at
Yeah.
your phone across the yard. You can't.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to be paying attention to what's going on.
Totally agree. So I know that we talk, and I know as far as your instructor, you've trained over 10,000 students with a 75% pass rate. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
75%
Absolutely.
pass rate. I love that. First off, so I'm gonna give.
Thank you.
So with that, because that's a pretty good pass rate. What are the 2 to 3 things you did differently to get there?
So one of the first things that I learned is to try to learn who I'm training. Okay. If I have a group with the average school, if they're worth their salt, is going to keep their student ratio to around 4 to 1, 4 students to one instructor. That's ideal. Okay. If you can get it lower than that, that's even better. If you can go down to 3 or 2, or if you can give one-on-one, even better. But should be no more than 4. Learning who those people are,
Yeah.
right? That transferred into learning how to deal, knowing how to um, observe people and see what kind of figure out what makes them tick and
Mm-hmm.
what works for them as far as their learning styles. We know that there are multiple learning styles. Everybody kind of has their own details about how they learn. So you have to learn who you're training. That was the biggest thing. I always started off, and anytime I had a new group, I started off, introduce myself, give them a little bit of background, because that relationship from student to instructor is all based on trust. Once I've established, I always made sure that in that first conversation, they understood that I'm in charge, and that truck will not move without my permission.
Yeah.
And if they're caught doing anything, we would go over the do's and don'ts on the yard. Okay, and they need to know. And there have been plenty of times when I have seen other instructor students across the yard. I've stopped
Mm-hmm.
everything, brought my students over to that student and used them and said, look, I'm not trying to pick on you. I don't want you to feel bad, but I'm going to use you as a learning tool right now. Whatever you
Mm-hmm.
just did, look, getting out of the truck face first, right? Not using 3 points of
3
contact
points of
was
contact. Yep.
huge
Yeah.
on the yard, right? One of the biggest safety issues on the yard is people, young people think they can just get out of the truck however they want, right?
Yep.
So you got to be strict, a little more strict with some students. Sometimes some people would have experience towing RVs or boats or whatever, small trailers. So that made it a little bit easier. Okay, look, I key in on that. Look, man, I already know that you know how to move this, how to get that trailer to dance, how to get it to go where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
All about teaching them with backing is all about driving the trailer. So I always tell students, I learn to tell students, look, man, you got to want it here and you got to want it here.
Yep.
So those are the 2 places where I need to learn to touch you. If
Yeah.
you don't want it 100% here and 100% here, you're not going to get it.
Exactly. I always tell the students, I can't want it more than you.
Yes.
And I'm gonna do all I can do, but I can't want this more than you. And one thing that I really like that you said, and it's so important, is learning the students. I think that's the number one thing. And I tell the students this, don't stop comparing yourself, right? The way you learn may not be the way Stan learns, and Stan may not learn the way Mia learns, right? Run your own race. Stop focusing on everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think once they get out of their own head and stop overthinking and overanalyzing, because maybe they're not catching on as fast as everybody else, I think they get better just in their own time. But I
Yeah.
think when they start looking at everybody else around them, and they're still on pre-trip and this person's already straight line backing,
Hmm.
I think they get in their own way. And so I really like that you said that you learn the students' learning style. I think that's imperative. And another point, you know, you took the time to learn the students. And I say this, and it's just my opinion. Just because a driver has been driving for a long time and they know how to drive does not make them a good instructor.
Correct.
You're a good driver, but to be a good instructor, you have to want to teach people. You have to figure out, okay, this way that I'm teaching them is not registering. I used to take it home. I would go home and be like, okay, Michael is not learning how I'm teaching him. What can I do tomorrow to help him get what I'm trying to convey? So let's dive into what the topic is about.
Okay.
CDL Mills. So, look, heartbeat, heartbeat. All right. So, define CDL Mills for the people that don't know in plain English. What is a CDL meal, and how is it different from a legit school?
The CDL mill, to equate it with something that people might be a little more familiar with, maybe you've heard the term a puppy mill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where there are people that breed uh, dogs for various reasons. Usually it's for to sell them off for
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money. Um, so CDL mills are kind of the same thing. They are schools that bring students in and they put in their time and they send them off to the DMV to test. They don't. They're not known for adequate training.
Yep.
They're frequently not known for training on industry standard equipment. They're just not doing it right, and they're doing a disservice to the people who train with them.
Yeah.
The problem, well, what they do, the way they get the students and the way they get the numbers of students that they get is they charge nominal fees. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the larger schools. So the average uh, legitimate school, if you will, the company that I worked for, the school that I went to was around $5,000 in that neighborhood. It could
Mm-hmm.
be 4,500, could be 55, whatever. And even still, 17 years later, after I got my CDL, it's still around that same price. Okay. Most major schools will offer you the ability to finance that, whatever, or you can pay it up front.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the CDL mills will usually charge a lot less. Maybe they charge a fraction of that. Hey, man, we'll train you for 1,200. Okay. And that's what gets people attracted. They're just looking at the dollar
The
amount. Oh, yeah,
number.
look
Yeah.
at I only
Yep.
have to go. I can go 2 hours a day for the next 3 weeks, and it's
I'll
only
get
going to
my
cost me
CDL.
1,200,
Yeah.
and I'll get my
Yeah.
CDL. Well, then they get into it. Okay, there's no contract there. There's no agreement between the two. It's just whatever that person at the school said, and that's the rule. So
Right.
they think that's how it's going to go. They get out there and they find out after that first couple of weeks of 2 hours a day, that 2 hours a day is spent with 40 other people waiting on the one truck. Okay, and
Exactly.
they might have gotten in for 5 minutes on
Yeah.
that day.
Yep.
And now they get to the end of that first couple of weeks, and okay, I'm not anywhere near ready for my test. Okay,
Mm.
well, for another $1,500, we'll give you, whatever, however many more hours. Okay.
Yep.
Or you can come on Saturday and pay me $200 a day until you're ready, or whatever. Okay. I've heard a number of different scenarios that fit into
Mm-hmm.
that.
Let me
Go ahead.
ask you, I'm gonna just cut in. So with that being said, if you had to spot one, you driving, you had to spot one in 60 seconds, what three tell signs that you would look for if you were telling a student? What
Well,
are three signs?
the easiest is the equipment they're training on. Okay. The trailer will have one axle instead of two.
Mm,
The tractor generally will have one axle instead of two on the drive. Okay. There usually it's a day cab,
Yeah.
and the truck usually is probably 25 years old or older.
And additionally, they're usually also not 53s.
Right. Yeah.
They're like
They're pup trailers,
30 pub trailers. Yeah. So
28 to
I've
35
noticed
foot,
that. Yep. Yep.
single
I
axle
noticed that.
trailers, single axle tractor, day cabs. Look, not every school has brand new, beautiful equipment. I've worked for, the company I worked for at the end had some yards that, the equipment was questionable looking, but it was my job to make sure it performed. So I
Yeah.
knew it was performing correctly. So like I said, you might have to wait. There's 40 other people waiting on one truck because there's 4 other trucks that are broken down on the other, on the far
Right.
side of the yard.
So speaking of, you talked about, 2-day training and just the student to the instructor ratio just being crazy. So what skills or what specific skills do meal trained grads usually lack that put the public at risk? So now we're going to get into the safety part of it,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So
They
what skills do you think they
well,
lack?
primarily because they're using non-industry standard equipment. Okay, the smaller tractors, smaller trailers, they don't know how to operate industry standard equipment. So
Mm-hmm.
they get into a sleeper cab that's could be whatever 10 feet longer than the tractor they're used to, and the
Mm-hmm.
trailers, if they're practicing on a 35-foot pup trailer and they get into where they're trying to move a 53 footer, okay, you got another 15 feet worth of trailer back there that you're not familiar with knowing how to move correctly.
Yeah.
um, and that can be, look, it may not be dangerous per se. It can be, it's more of a security risk at a delivery or pickup location because they're
Mm-hmm.
moving in closer quarters. It may not be quite as dangerous on the open road per se, but if they get into a more urban situation and they're trying to make turns, maybe they don't understand how to move that 53-foot trailer because they got 15 more feet of trailer. So they
Yeah.
end up running over things while
Yeah.
making turns. Or if they're making a left turn, maybe there's multiple left turn lanes and they're cutting off the vehicles to their
On the
inside
left side.
because
Yeah.
they're not paying attention to they're not used to the length of that trailer, or
Yeah.
they're just operating vehicles that they've never trained on and they haven't had adequate training, not necessarily from the school, but that could be a carrier issue.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're operating vehicles, trailers that they're not used to.
Yeah. If it's students out there watching, so a couple of red flags that we just mentioned is 2 weeks training, right? Like, no,
Yeah, and the thing is,
no,
there's honestly, for that situation, there's very little chance that they're going to pass their CDL test when they get to the licensing, to the testing facility. So what ends up happening is you get 3 tries, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Okay,
now you
so they
paying.
go back to the school. Oh, well, if you pay me another X amount of
Yep,
dollars, hundreds or thousands of dollars, we can go
exactly.
back to it again, right?
That's
So
it.
that's another, again, how
They
they
nickel
get.
and diming. They try to nickel and
And so by
dime
the time they end up getting their license, they've been at that school for 8 months, and it's cost them
you.
$12,000,
Right.
because they've been paying little by little, and they've been
Yep.
training for 3 hours a week, but only getting 15 minutes in the truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. So when you get a company or a school that you see says, make your own schedule for training, okay,
Yeah.
to me that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Or here's another one: we train in Spanish. Okay. That's a
That's
huge
one right
issue.
there.
That
That
is
is a huge
a huge
issue.
issue right now in our country, right?
Now, I'm in Florida.
Right. And I just
So
came from California. Okay.
that's a
Just
thing.
last week or the week before last, there was that huge accident. The driver killed 3 people.
3 people.
Okay.
Yep.
On Interstate 10. Okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Literally like 2 miles from the school that I went to. Right down
Crazy.
the highway. Okay. So it's a huge issue right now. And it's always been. Look, I've worked with instructors for whom English has not been their primary language. They're fluent Spanish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And every single one of them, to a man or woman, has always said, yes, I can train in Spanish, but I will not.
Yep.
Every single one of them. So if you get these schools that say, hey, man, we'll train you in Spanish one-on-one, okay, that's a red flag. Because,
Yeah.
okay, so now you've learned everything in Spanish. You go to the DMV, or the licensing agency. Here in Texas is the DPS. You go
Mm-hmm.
to take your test, and you get that person with the clipboard. You're already nervous. They start telling you things to do in English, and you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Okay, what chance do you have?
Yeah.
You know that the test must be administered and
In
performed
English.
in English
Yep.
only. And I can't tell you the number of times. It's kind of comical, but at the same time, I feel sorry for those people, because they all stand. It's kind of funny, and I'm going to be, look, I'm not racist in the least, but it's going to sound not going to sound good. At the DMV on test day, if you go there, they all show up, they all stand around smoking their Asian cigarettes, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're all
Mm-hmm.
Asian brands, and they all stand kind of in a little group. And when one of the examiners comes out to call out the next student, they all go running over to that examiner, waiting to hear their name called. And that's the way it is. It is what it is. And it's kind of comical. But I feel bad for those students. I can't tell you. I've sat at the DMV with our school's truck, students going through testing, and I've watched student after student, literally a dozen students in one day from the same school, not maybe be able to make it past their inspections because they
Mm-hmm.
either don't understand the instructions, or they can't speak English well enough for the examiner to understand what they're telling them. Yes.
This is one thing though. I want to add to that I don't understand. So if you can, when you get your permit, you can get that test administered in any language. This is like a catch-22 to me. I think if they're going to make it that, if it's always been that way, English, but it needs to be the same across the board,
I
right? It
agree.
needs to start from the beginning all the way to the end. You can't let them take the CDL permit test in Spanish and then force them to do the actual hands-on part in English. Like that's like
What's the
start it
point?
that way from the beginning. And that's
What's the
that's
point?
one thing that I hate. I
You're
don't
not doing them
like that
any favors.
at all. At all. Start it from the beginning. But that's just my whole gripe about it. So one of the other things, talking about the meals, I don't know, a thing that kind of I don't really like is, or that I think the meals capitalize on, is memorizing the pre-trip versus comprehension. And them are two totally different things. Like a lot of the schools that are meals teach you a script.
Yes, it is
Properly
not.
minded and secure, not cra- they just know everything by memory.
You should know this as an examiner. You can. It only takes you a minute or two to know if does this student know what they're talking about, or did they just memorize a script. But you know, as an examiner, you can tell when that student has memorized a script. And one of the tools at your disposal is, okay, do me a favor, touch that part for me, right?
That's the
And
rule.
yes, and they might look at you like, ooh,
No,
okay.
let me tell you what's funny as an examiner. When I so I'm the examiner that's poker face, mind you. I smile all day, but when I get in examiner mode, I'm poker face, and I have glasses that's reflective so they can't see my eyes. So this is how it always looks when they're unsure. So I have my paperclip in there, and so they're like, my fifth wheel is. They're looking at my face to
Like,
get me to
did I get
agree.
that right?
In my fifth wheel, like, and I'm like, pay attention. What are you looking over here for? Like,
Yeah, I'm not wearing it.
do your pre-trip. It is always funny because you can tell when they're guessing. And that's one thing I tell students when I'm teaching them. When you walk into that test, you need to walk in there confident, because the examiner wants, you are now teaching the examiner about the truck. You
Yes.
are now the instructor. That's how I tell them. You tell the examiner about that truck like you ain't never told nobody
Look,
else about the truck,
look,
you
and
know.
you know, as an examiner, also who is a CDL holder, There is a very small percentage of CDL examiners who are CDL holders. I've
Well,
only
I didn't
known
know that.
I've only known in Southern California at the Fontana uh, testing facility. I've only ever known in 17 years. I've only ever known two who are
Wow.
actual CDL holders. I was lucky enough when I tested to get one of them. He
Yeah.
was a good guy. He
Yeah.
wasn't typical DMV personality. He actually
Yeah.
had a personality. He knew what was going on. And I told
Yeah.
him, hey man, my name's, whatever his name was. I don't even remember. How are you? And, oh, great. And how you feeling, man? You ready to go test? And I was like, well, I'm kind of nervous, to be honest with you. I feel like I know what I'm doing, but you got that, you got that clipboard, you're making,
The
so,
clipboard does.
that clipboard drives more people crazy than anything,
It
any
does.
single piece of equipment ever. Uh, you know, so he was great. He was very calming. He was talkative. He was very supportive. Hey man, great job. Look, I'm that guy. Look, I was nervous when my first day on the yard, when we went out from the classroom to the yard and looked at the truck and started going through back in those days. The pre-trip inspection, the walk around was 100 and some odd items, and I was like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, my eyes were this big. I got to learn all that stuff on this truck.
Yes.
Once the instructor demonstrated it, look, this is how you do it, and he went through and did the whole thing, boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh shoot, come on, this is me. Point
Yeah.
A to point B, everything linear. I can go structure, right? That's
Yeah.
me. So I was all about it. When I took my test, I missed one item on the walk around, and
Mhm.
that was BS. And I know that because and I'll never forget, it was the water pump. He goes, I never heard you mention the water pump. And I was like, dude, seriously? It's right here. I said, and he was like,
Yeah. He said,
sorry, I
nope, I
didn't
didn't
hear it.
hear it. I didn't hear
And I was like,
it.
I could have had a perfect test score, and you just,
You got to turn up his
whatever.
hearing
It is
aid.
what
I
it
tell
is.
the students, I say, talk up. I said,
Yeah.
if the examiner doesn't hear it, then it didn't happen. So
Yeah.
make sure that they hear what you're saying. So,
Circling back, that's
mhm.
you can't teach them to memorize a script, and that works the same way with the backing maneuvers as well.
Yes, I was just getting ready
Look,
to mention
if
that.
you hit point of references and whatever. Look, man, if you're backing up back in the day when you had to do alley docks or parallel parks, right? Those have gone by the wayside, which is
Yep.
another can of
Crazy.
worms.
That's another
Yeah, it's
episode.
another whole episode, right? But they would teach them, back up till you see this on the side of the trailer,
Yep.
dude. That's it. Going back to the question a half hour ago about safety issues with students that come through these schools.
Mhm.
And look, even some of the better schools teach that too, because it's easier, right? It's
Yep.
easier to teach somebody back up until you see this,
Yep.
rather than drive that trailer and move it into the spot that you need it, right?
Yeah.
It's easier that way to teach
I
them,
agree. It
and look,
is.
I've taught it.
I was going to say I have. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But once I learned and once I got to where I had a bigger bag of tricks and more
Yep.
bags, I got away from that. I haven't taught a reference point in, I don't know, 5 years at least. But
Mhm.
that's dangerous
It is
because not every trailer looks exactly the same, and
at
not
all.
especially short ones versus the longer ones.
Yeah.
And if all you're doing is looking at the side of the trailer, you're not looking at what's happening 40 feet behind you,
Yep.
right? And eventually it's going to catch up. It might be 10 years from now, but eventually, if you're watching the side of the trailer, you're going to run into something.
Yeah. The reference point thing, like you said, in my earlier teaching, I did teach it because that's how I watched
Of
other
course.
instructors do it. So, but then like you just said, once you know better, you do better, right? And so once I started, I'm like, this thing, this is dangerous. Like
Mhm.
these reference points are good for the yard, not tight dots
Not in real
that
life.
we get into. Yeah, if I say in the yard, turn your wheel until you see the middle of the landing gear. Like, yeah, it works here, but not out
Of
there. So
course.
it's very dangerous.
And
So
what if you get a landing gear that doesn't have the same setup, with
yep,
the little triangles on
V.
the,
Yeah.
yes, and you're looking for that slice of pizza or whatever
Yep.
you call it, a
Yep.
tortilla chip or whatever. You're looking, those are all terms that students will learn. I guarantee it, because every school does it.
Yeah.
But when you get on the road, you're gonna have to learn
Yeah.
other
You
techniques.
got to read your trailer.
You
That's all
got
I
to.
tell us. Read your trailer. So let me ask you, with the meals, let's talk about FMCSA. What role do you feel like FMCSA or state DMVs play in policing the meals?
State DMVs don't care. Well, they can't. There's too many schools out there. Look,
Yeah.
the DMV testing facility in Fontana services probably literally close to 100 schools. Okay, they don't have the ability to go out and police to make sure they're teaching. They don't care. It's
Mm,
not, because every school, every instructor teaches something different, right? Every instructor has a different set of eyes. They see details differently.
mm-hmm.
The more time you have on the road, you see more details, right? That's the good thing about having veteran drivers as instructors, is that they have seen more, so they
Yeah.
see more details. Um, but the DMVs, or the testing licensing agents, state licensing agencies, they can't care. Maybe they do, but they can't do anything about it.
It's too much going
There's
on.
not enough people. They're just too worried about what's going on in their own facility. That's their focus. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Then it moves up the ladder. What about the state? The state, what oversight, whatever, governing body. In California, it's the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
Texas, it's DPS. It's different in every state. Okay, maybe the state should have people, a body of people or multiple bodies of people that literally go to every school in the state and audit them. There should be, the FMCSA should, in my opinion, and this is, how much time do we have? Because this could go on a while. The FMCSA, in order to be effective at doing their job, which is, look, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
Yep.
Okay, in order to safely administrate the CDL, the transportation industry, they need to have some oversight in this area. Okay,
Totally agree.
I look, I think I would be perfect in that role. I would be willing to be on the road 375 days a year to make sure
Awesome.
that, yep, moving from school to school. It
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't take me but 5 minutes to figure out if this school is doing it by the book or not, or doing it right and serving their students, or if they're a disservice. It's not difficult to find out. I thank you for the applause, but it's not that difficult to know what you're looking at. My opinion, we're teaching them to get their license. Okay, it's up to the carrier to teach them what they want them to know. Once they get hooked up with the carrier's got to get specific with their instruction. Look, carriers anymore are already having to teach their new drivers how to alley dock,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yep.
they're not learning that in school anymore.
Nope.
Okay, some states, here in Texas, when I came out here 8 years ago to open a school, they never tested on the alley dock. They only did the parallel park. So
Really?
yes, they did the straight line, the offset, and the parallel park. Okay, the testing facility, the DPS testing facility that our school used a driveway for their testing location. Okay, there was a covered area, an area with a big carport over it, where they did all the inspections, and then you turned your vehicle around in the driveway, and there were still vehicles coming in and out of that driveway while you're doing your backing maneuvers.
Oh,
Okay,
wow. That's crazy.
they had the cones all set up on one side, and they would move the cones. Okay, look, this is your straight line back. This is where you're going to start. You're going to drive to the end of the driveway, and you're going to back up until the front of your vehicle passes this set of cones. And then then we move these couple of cones, pull up. And you're going to pull, you're going to pull up straight and you're going to go to the left, or you're going to pull up to the right or to the
That's
left.
crazy.
And then
Yeah.
you would go, okay, stop right there, move the cones. Okay, you're going to pull up and you're going to do a parallel park. That's
Wow. So we're going to try to start wrapping this up. But before we do that, I'm going to ask top 5 questions to ask a school before a student pays anything.
Number one, what's your first time pass rate? Second, can I go to, I want to see the yard. Okay. I want to be able to see what people are doing. I want somebody to stand out there with me and explain what's going on.
Okay.
How many trucks do you have? What's your student to instructor ratio? Okay. Because if I'm being told by somebody on the enrollment side, oh, it's never more than 4 to 1, and I get out to the yard and I'm with a group of 12, that's a problem. But it depends on what we're doing, right? Maybe we combine groups and work in 2 or 3 trucks doing backing maneuvers. Okay.
So we said first time pass rate.
Yes.
Can you see the yard? How many vehicles? How many vehicles they have? The student to instructor ratio. And what else was it? That's then, 4.
Some sort of written agreement.
Written agreement.
Yep.
All right. I got it. I'm jotting notes down in case I need to let the students, other people that may be looking to get into it. So those are all great topics. So, all right. So listen, we're going to start wrapping this up. But before we do, all right. So, this is no filter, unfiltered. We're going to get into the your opinion. So this is a segment that I created called Yard Mail. And what I do is I have people email me, or they may send me or call my phone number and leave me a voicemail and tell me something that they experienced or that they just need our opinion about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the topic, and you tell me if we're going to respond to it or are we not going to respond to it.
Okay.
All right. So
now I should tell you that, this is one of those things where it's you can choose your battles, right?
That's it.
Okay. I'm the guy. My wife will tell you I will pick every single battle.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm going to guess that regardless of what anybody sends to you,
you're going to read it.
You read, we're going to respond to every single one of them.
We're going to respond to it then live. So the subject is instructor said, I test faster if I stay after. That's the subject. So let me read it because they emailed me. Sure. So just in short, the young lady said, my instructor keeps hinting that after hours one-on-one will speed up my sign-offs. I declined respectfully. Now my mock testing keeps getting pushed back. Do I ask for a different instructor, or do I just document it but risk, I think she meant, but risk the ridicule? So what should she do?
The short answer to that question is yes. Everything.
Document it?
Okay? Yes. Document it. Okay. Ask for another instructor. Okay. What I would do, start on the yard. Okay. Go to the lead instructor on the yard. There's got to be somebody in charge on that yard, and talk to them about it. Pull them off to the side. Document the next time their instructor makes that offer, or go to them and ask them. I don't know that I would try to entrap them, but document exactly the day and time that they were told, and then ask information. Hey, maybe they could go to their instructor and say, remember when you told me about this? Okay, tell me more. Okay, get that person to hang themselves. Okay,
yeah,
which may or may not happen, but get as much information. You know what? Tell me more. What can you do for me? Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the lead instructor. Talk to them about it. Okay. Go through chain of command. Don't just jump to the top and don't try to get the president of the company, whatever. Go through the chain of command. Talk to everybody on your way up. On your way up, document every conversation. Okay. If you can, let them know, hey, would you mind if I recorded this conversation? Okay. If they say no, that's fine, but I'm going to take notes. This is unfiltered, right?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to speak my mind.
Yes.
That motherfucker needs to be ran out of that school
Immediately.
Okay. If I ever knew that there was an instructor that worked under me that was doing that, and I had at least one, okay, I ran that dude out of town as quick as I could.
I know that's right.
Okay. Now, in California, there are very strict employment laws that may or may not exist in every state. Clearly, I don't know where this person's from. So in California, it took me time to build, a case, but there was enough that I saw on the yard when that person was an equal of mine before I became, and I had documented stuff then, so that when I moved into a position of authority, it was only a matter of time. And I knew it going into that position when I was elevated into that position. Okay. It wasn't a goal of mine to eliminate that person. I tried to do everything I could to get them more involved and keep them focused. And it just didn't work. It is what it is.
I just, the fact that, well, one, it's just very unprofessional.
Sure.
I mean, you are the superior in that situation, and to kind of use that as a, you get right with me, I can make stuff happen. Like, it's the audacity. I don't like stuff like that. Well, we'll talk about this on a separate episode. But one thing that I used to see is, like, I know some schools don't have a dress code, and some of the women and what they would wear working around trucks was like, what? Like, why do you have that on? What made you think so?
Wearing a mini skirt. Are you seriously?
What are you doing? But that's going to be another episode, because that's even in trucking. I see that so much with women in transportation right now. But that's going to be another.
Yeah, there was more than one time when I had to tell students, female and male, look, I'm not training you wearing those shoes. Okay. Then that's, again, that's a whole nother
I did too. I sent somebody to go get shoes, and they said, well, I live an hour away. There's a Family Dollar around the corner.
Yeah.
Go buy a cheap pair of shoes, and that's it. So I sent somebody to Family Dollar to go put some shoes on, because I think they had those just slides. They had flip-flops on.
Yeah.
It's a truck.
Yeah.
And flip-flops, come on now.
That's not safety footwear. You signed an agreement with the school that says you're going to wear certain, there is a dress code, or there is, you have to wear certain things, maybe not a dress code per se, but yeah, totally. That's another shoot, man.
Next season on the Yard Talk. But all right, Stan, thank you. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining the Yard. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day before Halloween, because I know we was trying to get it in before the Halloween started. So thank you for taking time. We're going to have to invite Trucker Steve, so he can come on next time. So that'd be a great. Let's make sure
and give him a plug real quick. He's got a couple of. I help administrate one of his Facebook pages. Okay, he's got Facebook and YouTube. He's got. We have one page that's CDL student training. CDL student training tips. Okay. He's got a YouTube channel, Trucker Steve. He's constantly on there talking about various issues, FMCSA. He and I are big proponents. We share similar views of the FMCSA. He was a driver I think he drove for like 214 years. He just recently retired.
Give or take.
Long ago. Yeah, give or take a couple of years. No, but I think he drove for somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40 years. He drove for UPS. But he also worked as an instructor for the same company that I did. I was in California. He was in Virginia. And somehow, I don't know, I got into his page and his Facebook page and just started commenting. Look, you can tell I'm never one to, like I said, I choose every battle, right? So if anytime I would see somebody asking a question or or saying something foolish, I would always try to give good advice with that. And definitely I'm old school. You can tell. I don't teach anybody to take shortcuts. Look, in this industry, you can earn a very good living. Okay.
Yep.
But
You do it
no
right.
company is going to back a trailer up to your front door and unload a truckload of cash. You have to earn it.
Go get it.
You got to earn every penny.
Go get it. Go get
Yes.
it. But before we go, set CDL Consulting Services, please let them know what that is, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Stan. Okay, I've been in this industry for a long time, and whenever I get into, I'm that guy. Whenever I get into something that I can get my hands on, I'm going to go in full bore. I don't do anything half-assed. Okay, I am here. I want to give back to the industry that was good to me, and I want to make sure that I teach people how to do things by the book. If you're a company looking for help developing curriculum, that kind of help doesn't come free. Okay. but we can negotiate. Okay. I'm not that guy who's going to say, this is what I charge, take it or leave it. No, look, I will help in any way, shape or form that I can. I will help you get approved for the TPR. If you want to be a registered training provider, I can help you with that. I am, somebody who, for the companies that I'm currently working with, I'm that quote unquote expert, although I don't consider myself an expert in the field. I just consider myself somebody who has put in the time to learn as much as he could about it. And you're never going to learn everything. But I help them, or I have and can help them be that person that can help them become a registered provider. That's kind of that in a snapshot.
Do you have a website?
Yeah. You know what? I don't yet. But if I knew
what
somebody,
are you doing, Stan? Come on now. We got to get the consultant stuff going.
I am old school. This is not my area of expertise. I am not the most tech savvy person you're going to run into.
Okay.
So if you know anybody out there, Mia, by the way, wink, wink.
Hint, hint.
If you know somebody that can help with that, maybe
Okay.
I can get connected with them and make another contact.
Anything I can help with, that's what I'm here for. And of course,
and there was somebody that I met that is an attorney that what I said, in a conversation with them, I said something about, I think it would be fantastic if I could get an audience before somebody at the FMCSA. And they said, let me look into that. I might be able to help you with that. So, literally through social media, look, Steven Snyder, great guy. Okay. We've had numerous conversations. I've seen his work. I've never met the guy. Never. We haven't even had a conversation like this. We've just only ever, because again, we're both old school guys and we're just not that particularly tech. So I've never actually met him. I told him, look, man, I moved halfway from, I closed the gap on us halfway. You got to meet me halfway. So you got to come to Texas now that you're retired, right?
All right. Well, so family, that is a wrap. But before I leave, I always try to share a safety tip. So the safety tip I'm going to leave with today, I'm a really big advocate for the Smith system. So we're going to talk about, or I'm going to mention the 6-second following distance. So please keep your following distance, which this ties into key 1, aiming high and steering, right? So you want to keep the 6-second following distance as well as a 15-second eye lead time. So you should be looking way up there, guys. You shouldn't be right up on the car that's right in front of you, right? You won't be able to stop if they slam on brakes. That's all I'm saying. So I'm Mia, your favorite truck in IT, and this is 10-4 Radio. Please make sure you go like, subscribe. Thank you, Stan. I appreciate you. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.